course, we need to have survivor-centered approaches, invest in prevention and survivor services, and of course, tackle digital sexual exploitation. And of course, we are looking at the Commission to ensure that member states comply to the Niamey guidelines that was adopted in 2017 in Ijao.
2 days after aid began entering Gaza, the United Nations says no new supplies have reached local people. About 100 trucks have crossed into the territory since Israel eased its 11-week blockade. The BBC's Rushdie Abu Abulaf has the story.
The Israelis are not allowing yet the Palestinian trucks from Gaza to come close to the border to collect the aid, which now lay in the ground in a designated security area near the Kerem Shalom crossing. All night, the drivers were sleeping inside the trucks and waiting, hoping that today they would allow them to go and collect the aid and then start distributing. Very frustrating news for the hungry people in Gaza who have been waiting for 11 weeks to get the most needed food.
For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Cholani Tulo Webe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It's 7 minutes after 1 Central African time. Hello, and a very warm welcome to The Upside. My name is Nompumelelo Ngubeni, and I am with none other than Tebego Lekhuleni on this Wednesday afternoon.
Hump day indeed. I tell you what, in cricket terms, the third day of any test match is called moving day. So it's the day when decisions are made whether we are winning this test match or we are losing this test match. Key decisions are being made. Tonight, the financial, the budget speech in South Africa, and Cyril Ramaphosa's US visit. It's moving day.
Big. You know what? Even on a personal note, I feel like it's moving day.
Personal?
Yes. What an exciting day personally. Just a lot of movement.
Just a lot of movement.
Upward.
I'm still recovering from my movements. I really am. I'm still recovering from the treadmill movements, but yeah, all good.
You went to the gym in a long first time. It actually is moving day. I love it.
We need it. And also, what a day to do it. The coldest day of the week.
No.
Why would I choose to move today? What do you mean it's fake? It's cold.
Front. I was telling Lulu
that
now.
That wind is chilly outside, eh?
No.
You didn't experience
it. Amid the scorching heat.
No, you did not experience it properly.
It's scorching hot. All there is, guys, is a breeze. It's a beautiful breeze.
You are either in the office or in your car. So where will you have experienced this wind?
When I'm leaving the office into the car and out of the car
which is
into
usually
the shopping center.
A 5 meter walk.
It really is okay. You guys are exaggerating. It is definitely fake. Our technical operator, Katu, has just confirmed that this is a fake cold front, what is happening in South Africa. But coming up, it is an exciting show ahead of us. We are starting the show speaking about a place that I grew up looking at as aspirational. That is News Cafe. It is a restaurant.
Aspirational?
Yeah, back when I was in varsity. All the upwardly mobile black people were hanging out at News Cafe.
I've never gone through my News Cafe era, and I don't think I ever will.
No, I think you missed the the age and the
yeah. So it's correct me if I'm wrong. It's a restaurant and a club. So it's a restaurant for the most part. For the most part, during the day they're serving food. Then in the evening it turns into like a boom 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 boom. Is that what it is? Wow,
I think. Look, I haven't been there in years. But I think what they do is play some music. I don't think it turns into a club necessarily. Okay. No. They can't transform in that way.
No,
but they are celebrating 30 years. That's why we are having this conversation.
That's a long time.
30 years.
For a business to be up and running.
Yeah, very, very long time. Top. It also just speaks about the success of it, eh?
The longevity of it. We'll talk about the strategy and what the vision was when they started it to where it is right now. Are they happy with the progress made? And then Transport Evolution Africa 2025. The current infrastructure is allowing for intra-trade. You're seeing trains, you're seeing ships. Now we are becoming... The world is getting smaller and smaller because of the developments that we are seeing on the roads, in the air, in the sea. But we're going to be focusing on Africa this afternoon.
The modernization of the infrastructure sector on the continent amid all the pressures that are on the continent, right, for economic growth, for further trade, and of course we end off the show speaking about Nigeria's Festac 77 film, which is heading to Cannes in France, and this is in celebration of African culture.
Paddle.
That and more.
Paddle also. Don't forget the paddle conversation.
Paddle is a big one that we are going to be
I bring it up simply because very soon you and I have to go there. And go play.
Thursday. We have a date for Thursday. Hey?
It's tomorrow. That's tomorrow,
Thursday
isn't it?
is tomorrow, yes.
The week is flying by.
My word.
Yeah,
listen, if I lose, just know that I have a leg injury that I'm still nursing.
Same here.
You're not still nursing a leg injury.
I've got the biggest black mark on my shin ever. Pain.
Same, I have a bruise.
Pain for days.
But that's only if I lose. Just know that that's the caveat.
If I lose, I can't see in the evening. It's 12 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Welcome to The Upside.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
This song has a line that I love so much in the isiXhosa language. It says, "Andinayo nesentem daga." So I went down to the Eastern Cape. So I went to Yanga and said, Yanga, tell me here, what does andinayo nesentem daga mean?
If I say andinayo nesentem daga, it means that I do not have any money on me. I do not have money to give to you.
Interesting, because in Chivenda, I would just say, "Atinana peni ndo cherungwe." I wonder if you have that expression in your home language when you want to say you're broke, but in a very creative way. What do you say? I'd like to hear from you.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege. Join the birthday celebrations this month.
Happy birthday to you. Still connecting Africa to the world.
Channel Africa, the African perspective. The Upside. On The Upside, your voice matters.
There is fire on the mountain, and nobody seems to be on the run. Oh, there is fire on the mountain top, and no one is running. I wake up in the morning, tell you what I see on my my TV screen. I see the blood of an innocent child, and everybody's watching. Now I'm looking out my window, and what do I see? I see an army of a soldier man marching across the street. Hey, hey, Mr. Soldier Man, tomorrow is the day you go to war. Boy, you are fighting for another man's gun.
When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act.
PM Central African Time, Fire on the Mountain, Asha. Beautiful music. I tell you what, you need a fire. For those who do think it's a bit chilly outside in Gauteng, you need that fire. You need that heater. Thank you so much for tuning into The Upside on Channel Africa for the African perspective. Let's get into our first conversation where we celebrate News Cafe.
Absolutely. Now, they first opened their doors in South Africa in 1995.
That's a long time ago.
Were you born yet?
I tell you
was
what,
I born yet?
I tell you what, I think I was walking at that time.
Okay, all right.
Learning.
You guys are almost age mates. A lot of our producer definitely wasn't born.
Our producer was not born. Really?
No, it must have been the same year she was born.
Oh,
and it really was just after the dawn of democracy. And that's why I say when I think back to the time I was first introduced to News Cafe, it was such an aspirational spot. It was all, the upwardly mobile folk that hung out there, all the black people that were kind of self-actualized or on their way to that, right? And the brand has grown from just a single store in Pretoria, Hatfield, to a recognized name across the nation. And it's more than just a restaurant, really. It has become part of a South African culture, offering a space that starts your day with a morning coffee and a breakfast. Often people would have meetings to start their day there, and it ends with evening celebration. You asked if it turns into a club. I would say not so much a club, but certainly, a celebratory environment is what they create.
That's another way of saying club. Celebrating.
I'll let Michael explain the night aspect of News Cafe. We are joined by Executive Director of the brand News Cafe, and that is Michael Defterios. Michael, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. It's always a joy to talk about our brand.
I mean, congratulations. Firstly, 30 years is no small feat in this industry. I know that the restaurant business is rather competitive, and you have had longevity. Congratulations. But tell us,
thank you.
How you managed to do it, and what was the idea when starting News Cafe?
A little bit earlier you talked about age and if you're old enough and all of that. And I think the secret to our success has always been the ability to move, not necessarily with the time, but sometimes ahead of the time, and just to be relevant to the next generation coming up. And the ability to innovate and the ability to stay ahead of the curve, to create the shift as opposed to following a shift, has really been the cornerstone of our success. But I must be honest with you guys that sometimes you look at it and also we rub our eyes and say, sure, where did 30 years go? And how did it happen? And what was this and what was that? But what we do know is that it wasn't a fluke. It's not by accident. It's not, it just didn't happen. There's always been times where we've understood what our role was to play and how we needed to reinvent ourselves at the right time in our history to be able to move towards the next generation. So we're very proud of that ability to be innovative and be ahead of the curve.
It is 21 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. We continue this conversation as we celebrate 30 years of News Cafe. Don't go anywhere. This is The Upside.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba.
Alors peut-on considérer cette décision comme un désengagement durable des États-Unis vis-à-vis du développement africain ou s'agit-il d'un simple réalignement stratégique?
Bon, ça peut être les deux à la fois. Donc, au lieu de donner de l'argent à la Banque africaine de développement pour partager en vrac, ils préfèrent maintenant donc cibler les pays partenaires en Afrique. Ça, c'est pour le
réalignement stratégique.
Alors, et aussi, ce n'est pas un désengagement durable, mais je pense que dans les 2 ou 3 prochaines années, il veut d'abord remettre de l'ordre dans ses affaires.
Vue d'Afrique. Du lundi au vendredi, de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter?
Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard?
Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126.
And we will call you back.
So you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am,
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views.
Share your opinion.
Engage with a community that values your perspective.
Follow us on our social media.
Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za
and get ready to share your views
on Channel Africa,
the African perspective.
Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside with Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebego Lekhuleni. Bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories.
It is 23 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. This is The Upside on Channel Africa, the place to be for the African perspective. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Today we are celebrating 30 years of News Cafe. You mentioned, Nompumelelo, that it was aspirational when you thought about News Cafe back then. Fond memories from News Cafe? Do you have any?
No, because I was still a bit young as well. It's not like
Did you ever go to News Cafe though and have a good time there? Maybe some memories?
Yeah. None that I can also my memory is bad. That you're really putting me on the spot now. I mean
was there a performance on the day that you were there? Did you just go there to eat?
I can barely remember 2 weeks ago and what I was doing. I remember where it was positioned in Hatfield Square. Right by
the Hatfield one?
Yeah, the original one. Yeah.
Okay,
it had like a prime location on Hatfield Square. And Hatfield Square at the time was also like the buzz place to be.
Yes.
You know, everybody wanted to be on the square.
Yes. Yeah. The one that I went to was the one in Rosebank. I've never really been, familiar with the News Cafe. I knew it existed.
Yeah.
But I've never been to a News Cafe.
You weren't familiar with the brand.
So I went there probably about 5 years ago, and this was at the Rosebank one. All I remember was that we had a good time. The food was amazing. The drinks.
Chicken. I remember the wings. They have really good wings there.
I can't remember what I ordered.
The cocktails are also quite good.
It was delicious. I got a virgin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't do the alcohol that much. Anyway, we are still joined on the line by Michael Defterios. He's the Executive Director, Brands and co-founder of News Cafe. To celebrate with him 30 years of News Cafe. Michael, why do you think News Cafe resonates so strongly with South Africans across the generations since 1995?
I think it goes back to the beginning. We were kind of fresh out of democracy. In the new democracy, we there was this positive feeling, a great vibe. Everything was just a great time to be in SA. And I think we became one of those brands that just people celebrated in from day one. And the ability to just shift every time the generation shifts. I mean, everyone from Y, Z, millennial, whichever one, and whoever's up next, is that we've been able to just shift our business towards them. So always been a great place to get together, whether it's straight after work for some beers or cocktails, and then into the late night with drinks and with food and so on. I think we've always just been a great place to be.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think it speaks to the brand's ability to understand its market, right, and cater to that. But as you say, also being agile in that you can move ahead of the trends or with the trends. Tell us about how it has metamorphosized over the years from those 1995 days to cater to the trends currently.
I think there's always been big shifts in the industry as a whole, never mind in our business. But as an industry as a whole, there was a definite shift where in those early days in the 90s and maybe early thousands that we almost waited for what was happening international, and kind of 6 months, 9 months, 12 months later, there would be a trend that would follow on here. And you'd kind of catch on to that wave and offer it whatever it may be. And sometimes it would hit, sometimes it would make sense for the South African consumers, sometimes not. More and more, we're creating our own story now, and again, not only as a brand, but as a nation, as an industry. That it's no longer about what's fashionable in London or New York. It's what makes sense here and what makes sense for our consumers. And the ability to understand those little things is what makes the difference in the success of the business. But we're no longer trailing. That's for sure. We're no longer following on. We're no longer looking at what's happening in the world. Say, okay, well, let's introduce this cocktail, this food item. We very distinctly serve a South African market, and that market is only understood by South African operators.
Michael, are there any expansion plans under wraps at the moment that you probably don't want to let the public know, but you can let us know because we're your friends now?
No.
Are there any plans to expand at the moment?
Locally, yes. So we're opening, in fact, our News Cafe in 4 ways opens today. which is a great leap for us, because for a long time, thank you very much, we've been wanting to be in the four-way space. So that opens today. We then open in Rustenburg in about 6 weeks' time, followed on by Umtata and Lesotho. And then there's another 2 stores penciled in for by the end of the year. So our growth plan is strictly South Africa. We've been international in the past and into Africa. Again, we understand that we know our business best in SA, and it's not about it's not for us. We don't need that ego trip to say we've got stores in Nigeria and all of those other places, because in the end it's not where the business lies. We have a great business opportunities in SA, so we'd rather stick to the business we know best.
And is there going to be a big celebration for the 30 years?
A big celebration?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's a celebratory year, so there's celebrations throughout. Each store has a number. There's a couple of parties planned through all the stores throughout the year.
Man,
we are very fortunate. We have great responsibilities with great relationships with our suppliers who are helping us celebrate. And rest of the year in October, where the real birthday is, there'll be quite a big bash going on, so that we can celebrate and really have a good time and look at what the 30 years looked like and what it looks like today.
Michael, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and everything of the best.
Thank you, Nompumelelo. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat about our brand.
That is Michael Defterios, Executive Director of Brands and co-founder of News Cafe.
Congratulations. 30 years. 30 years. Expanding, post-COVID also. Expansion.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
I mean, the staying power is incredible where this brand is concerned. It is 30 minutes after 1 Central African time. Let's hear which sporting codes or teams have had staying power themselves. Fikile?
Sports on Channel Africa.
The African Perspective.
Good afternoon, guys. Thank you. Let me start off with athletics. Kenyan athletes intending to participate in the national trials for the Tokyo World Championships have until the 24th of May to partake in the first no-notice out of competition anti-doping test. In a communication sent to athletes from the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, ADAC, and the Athletics Kenya AK, athletes who will not have complied by Saturday will automatically be locked out of the national trials. ADAC and the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, require all athletes who intend to compete in the Tokyo World Championships to undergo 3 mandatory anti-doping tests, with the first no-notice out-of-competition test to be done on or before the 24th of May. This mandatory testing is a crucial requirement stipulated under the rule of WADA. Any athlete under the jurisdiction of Athletics Kenya whose first no-notice out-of-competition test is conducted after Saturday will be deemed ineligible for selection to Team Kenya for the World Championships in Tokyo. AK is set to conduct the national trials in July at the Nyayo Stadium to select a team for the 20th of World Athletics Championships set for Tokyo, Japan between the 13th and the 19th of September this year. On to football news. 2 down on their luck English Premier League sides, Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur will compete in the final of the Europa League tonight in Bilbao in northern Spain. Neither side is under any illusion that winning the Europa League will fix their problems, but both hope it can serve as a temporary confidence booster ahead of redoubling their efforts for next season. Now let's hear from coach Ruben Amorim, who believes United's problems run deeper and will not cover up their league showing that currently seems them languishing in 16th place on the Premier League table.
I think it's hard to speak about that in this moment because we need to be excited and confident. But we already know the problems. There's a lot of things that we need to change in our club, the way we do everything during the week in Carrington, the recruitment, the academy. I think we need to improve. So it's hard to point one thing, and that will not be solved by winning a cup. I think I will say it again. For me, we have bigger things to deal with to put this club back to the top.
And Tottenham Hotspur, meanwhile, is a club with its own problems. They're sitting in 17th place on the log table, one spot lower than United, and the future of their manager, Ange Postecoglou, is far from certain. It's been 41 years, and now in their worst ever Premier League campaign, it can certainly provide some relief.
I don't think my job is done here. We're just, I really feel like we're building something, and what a trophy does is hopefully accelerates that. So I still think there's a lot of work to be done.
After years of building, recalibrating and coming agonizingly close, Mamelodi Sundowns may finally be on the cusp of reclaiming their place at the summit of African football. The Brazilians are on the verge of lifting the first Total Energies CAF Champions League title since 2016, and the evidence supporting their claim is more compelling than ever. The final is a two-legged affair, with the first leg set for the 24th of May at Loftus Versfeld Stadium in Tshwane, and a decisive return leg taking place on the 1st of June in Cairo, Egypt, against the Egyptian giants Pyramid FC. Let's end with cricket news. Sam Cooke will make his England debut in this week's test against Zimbabwe, while fellow fast bowler George Tang features for the first time in 2 years. Cook's place in the England team at Trent Bridge on Thursday is a reward for a sustained spell as one of the country's cricket's most consistent wicket takers with Essex. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa.
The African Perspective. In this episode of Channel Africa Conversations, Peter talks to Dr. Thulisile Buddha, an academic, author, and an expert in indigenous knowledge systems. Join us for a compelling discussion on preserving African languages and traditions in the digital era. Dr. Thulisile unpacks the role of educators, explorers, and how technologies like AI can support cultural preservation, and challenges us to rethink how we honor African heritage. You can find the episode on YouTube, SABC Plus, and on our website, channelafrica.co.za. This episode is a must-listen for educators, creators, and change makers across the continent. Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
36 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African Time. Happy Wednesday, and thank you so much for tuning in to The Upside on Channel Africa, the place to be. It's now time to find out how the markets are moving with Nosipho Zuma, who's got the latest in business.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tebego. Good afternoon. In your business news this hour, headline inflation in South Africa has risen to 2.8% in April from 2.7% in March 2025. The change in CPI between March and April was 0.3%. The main positive contributors to the annual inflation rate were housing and utilities, food and non-alcoholic beverages, alcoholic beverages and tobacco, as well as restaurants and accommodation services. Notando Makutulela reports.
Inflation for food and non-alcoholic beverages rose to 4% in this period, the highest annual rate since September 2024. The rise in this category was mainly due to higher meat prices, particularly for beef products such as stewing beef, mince, and steak. The price index for oils and fats also increased between March and April, taking the annual rate to 4.8%. SATSA data also shows that on average, fuel prices declined by 3.2%.
The Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, Contralesa, has urged the Financial Minister Noko Dongwane to also consider unemployed graduates when tabling his third budget speech. Contralesa President Kgosi Mathupha Mokoena says the unemployment rate of graduates will drive them to look for greener pastures in other countries.
Contralesa is shocked by the stats that shows the high rate of unemployment in our country, especially our youth. There are many graduates with degrees and diplomas sitting and idling at home doing nothing without jobs. This challenge will discourage our youth from pursuing their studies. Contralesa calls upon our government to come up with some strategies or mechanisms that will address this challenge, or else our graduates will leave our country to go and look for greener pastures outside South Africa.
Executive Head, Business Ecosystems and Sustainability at Standard Bank in South Africa, Dr. Menesa Alagbauso, says Africa's slower development coupled with aging infrastructure are some of the major factors hindering efforts to address power cuts in many countries on the continent. Countries like South Africa, Nigeria, Zambia and Zimbabwe struggle to meet growing energy demands, leading to frequent outages and reduced reliability. Alagbauso's comments come as South Africa hosts Elite Africa 2025 in Cape Town this week, which has brought together over 6,000 energy and water experts from across the continent. Alagbauso says African governments are tackling power cuts despite the limited resources.
The reality of Africa in today's day and age is without power, the continent cannot develop. The two are intricately linked. So we have this type of a developing continent for so long now that what has become really apparent is without stable, sustainable power, the continent cannot develop. So this is a top priority for all of the African countries. And I do believe that they are paying the required attention to it, of course, within the resources they have and the resources they can mobilize.
The Empower Entrepreneurs Funding Summit, Africa's leading funding platform, is scheduled to take place on the 30th of May in Johannesburg, South Africa. The event provides a unique platform for 1,500 vetted entrepreneurs to explore funding avenues. One of the event partners, 7 Technology Incubator, says is committed to accelerating the commercialization of deep tech startups in Africa by strengthening the broader venture support ecosystem. The CEO of 7 Technology Incubator, Tabelo Rachuhule, explains.
So we assist this startup to move from ideation, prototype, up until they get to market, interact with the market, understand the problems. And the most important part is then bringing the ecosystem together, ensuring that we've got funders, we've got corporates, we've got DFIs in terms of government. Overall, we try to get the public-private partnership working instead of assisting startups in isolated, KPI-informed approach.
Now, the International Monetary Fund's first Deputy Managing Director, Gita Gopinath, says the U.S. fiscal deficits are too large and the country needs to tackle its ever-increasing debt burden. Gopinath says the U.S. is still impacted by very elevated trade policy uncertainty, despite positive developments such as President Donald Trump's administration rolling back tariffs on China and striking a U.S.-UK economic deal. The IMF slashed its U.S. growth forecast in April, along with most other countries, over the impact of U.S. tariffs, while warning that further trade tensions would slow growth further. Your financial indicators: $1 US in Nigeria is trading at 1,600 naira 79. In Botswana, it's 13 Bula 39. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 49, and in Zambia it's 27 kwacha 05. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 65. Russia is 80 rubles 54. India is 85 rupees 51. China is 7 yuan 21, and in South Africa $1 is trading at 17 rand 99. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,309 and platinum at $1,046 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $66.37 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nosipho Zuma.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
My name is Neto, N-E-T-O Chamani. Osiatiko, Nengezimo, Mkhanju, Phandle kunjani moyani. Voko Tendele. Africa at Play, Asteleli Siashaya. Africa's Velvet Voice is in the house. Africa at Play is a place to be, where we speak all things sport and music, from the African continent to the rest of the world. We speak to your bundles of joy in sport, 12-year-olds and below, teenagers in sport. And we speak to elite athletes, administrators, coaches, and all the behind-the-scenes stakeholders of sport and music. Africa at Play, Asteleli Siashaya. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
La famille au Sénégal? Oui, bien sûr.
Sori sama réew ak sama askan taxul ma fàtte man mi may kan damay liggéey taxuma si caaxaan seen soutien damay bégal.
Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect.
Central African Time. You're still listening to The Upside. It's Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebego Lekhuleni taking you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African Time this hump day. We have just been told, Tebego, that we're going to be quizzed for Africa Month by our producer, and I think this is going to happen throughout the duration of Africa Month. Are you ready? Are you good with these kind of games?
She just wants to put us under pressure unnecessarily and expose our IQs. It's a problem.
Yeah. Well, it's general knowledge.
Is it really?
Because what's general is not general for everyone. Hey, you're right.
Exactly that. So I'm looking forward to it. I love learning.
Yeah.
So even if I don't do well, if I learn something, that's a massive takeaway for me.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it, and you're more than welcome to join in as well.
Give us some tips.
Give us some tips and then answer the questions as well as at home. +2763 406 9126 is the WhatsApp line. Stream us live on our social media platform on Facebook at Channel Africa. If you have DSTV, it's channel 802. She better not make it like super complicated, like at least so that when people tune in, there's some respect that I know one or two things.
You play these general knowledge games quite often, so I think you should not have a problem at all. Our producer, Nombuyiselo Tango, is in studio, and she will be starting with the quiz right now. Right now.
The phenomenal Nombuyiselo Tango.
Let's see. So she's going to be, she said it's around languages, I think. Languages spoken on the continent.
Oh my goodness me.
So let's see. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, beautiful people. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
Yes.
So we know we are celebrating Africa Month.
Yes.
So
on Sunday. Hey.
Yeah. But we're going to quiz you guys the entire month.
Oh dear.
Randomly so. We can't tell you on which days because you guys might we need you guys unprepared. Okay? So for the first question.
Oh, wait. First of all, do we win something? Do we win something?
You win your pride, okay? But if you lose, you get punishment. At the end of the month, I am going to give you guys, so we're going to have 4 of these questions, 4 of these series, right?
Okay.
And then at the end of it, I'm going to give you guys, the punishment is, do you guys know the jelly beans that taste funny and smell funny?
Ew, no.
Yeah. The fact that you said ew is good enough punishment.
The ones that say this one tastes like
a
sock.
Yeah.
Like a sock.
So you do know these things.
It tastes like a dishwashing soap.
And then that time it tastes like a proper sweet. Okay, fine.
Right?
Fine.
So the loser, that's what they get. 4 of them.
4.
So they mix them with actual jelly beans, and then the other ones they mix it with the ones that you should be scared of.
Rotten milk.
Yes. So expect that.
Okay.
So try your best to win.
Right.
Okay, so for the first question is, how many official, before I even start, the rule is for me to recognize you, the first person to say their name. That's the one I'm going to name.
All right, got you.
Cool. How many official languages are spoken in Zambia?
Tebo.
Deborah?
You said Zambia.
Yeah. I need to see your phone away from you. Okay.
No phone.
Zambia. 3.
He's thinking about it. I mean, this guy.
1.
50.
Can I hazard a guess?
Yes. So the second person, if you get it wrong, the second person gets a clue. of the range.
What?
Okay.
No,
so
that's
what is
not
the
fair.
range? Yes. What is the
No,
range?
that's not
So if
fair.
you're going to call your name, there has to be a reason why
Exactly.
you're
There has to
calling
be
your
a reason because he thought about it. I mean, he called his name for the sake of
Alright.
calling his name.
So I'm going to give you a range.
Yeah.
Right? It's definitely a lot of languages.
Oh.
It's less than 100, but more than 50. So you definitely off.
Oh, okay. 55.
Wrong. So the both of you are wrong.
All right.
It's 72 languages.
My
Wait,
word.
official languages.
It's 72 languages.
Official.
And the most spoken is English.
72 official languages in the... Huh? Wow.
That
Okay.
is ridiculous. Are these just dialects of two languages, for instance, and then now they...
72.
No,
okay.
that's
all right, we can look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what's the most spoken language in Nigeria?
Nompumelelo.
I forgot my name.
Okay, now he's made me forget. Oh my word.
3,
They're two.
2, 1.
Oh my word, guys.
Okay.
I'm going to say...
I'm going to give you a clue,
Okay, yes.
right? I'm going to tell you what it starts with. The letter.
Yeah, okay.
H. No.
Okay.
Hausa.
There we go. You got it. 1 point.
No, but you gave him the answer.
Okay, next question. Is sign language an official language in South Africa?
Nompumelelo.
Wait for the question to be
Nompumelelo.
completed.
I heard.
All right,
it
wait.
absolutely is, yes.
Give us the rules.
You're
It is,
No,
yes.
but-
Yay!
Wait. Are we
One all.
can we already answer and say my name
Yes.
while you are asking the
I
question?
didn't say you can't. Why
So-
are you
so-
placing a rule that I didn't put?
So it's not about waiting until the question is asked.
If you get it wrong, you get it
All
wrong.
right. Okay. Thank you very much for that.
One
Okay, so
all.
1 all right
Yes.
now.
This is the
Okay.
decider.
No.
Oh, okay.
What language did Gaddafi speak?
Tebogo.
Tebogo?
He's thinking.
3.
Arabic.
Absolutely correct. It's very, very So 2.
No, that was wrong.
That is correct.
So that's the correct. That's the
Okay.
correct sound. That's the happy sound. Okay.
Okay. The last one.
Yeah.
Greet us in all 4 of the languages Channel Africa broadcasts in.
Nompumelelo.
Nompumelelo said it first.
Apart from English.
Oh yeah.
I can't.
So we got
Bonjour.
Portuguese, French, and
Bonjour. Yeah. Okay. No, but we're getting bonjour.
Correct.
Jumbo.
Correct. 3.
No, how are you timing me for an answer? No, guys. No, but of course I can. I'm already in the process of answering, and it's 4. I have to give you 4. Bonjour, Jumbo. Oh man, how do they say hello in Chinyanja?
This is why we need the guy. See?
And
time is up.
Oh man.
Tebogo, you can redo. 4 languages.
Oh man.
Bonjour.
Correct.
Jumbo. Money. Money.
Okay, tell us what
that's
language.
Chinyanja. That's
Okay.
hello.
Can someone verify if that's true?
Is that
No,
money?
tell
Money
us.
is
Carry
hello,
on,
is it
carry
not?
on. What's the
In
fourth one?
Chinyanja.
What's the fourth
What's the fourth one? Is Portuguese, right?
Yeah.
That's Portuguese. How do you say hello in Portuguese? Obrigado is
no,
Obrigado is thank
no,
you.
and that's cheating.
By the way, we've got Kolisi on the side,
and who's busy helping Tebogo.
the
So time's up.
No, wait.
Time is up.
Time
is up.
I got
You
3
guys don't
though.
know how
You
to
got
say
2.
language.
You got 2. No, you got 2.
Money.
You actually
hello.
got 1 because
You got
in all
1 because-
honesty, the other 2 got them from her.
Exactly.
So right now, either way, Tebogo is our winner because he got 2 out of all.
Thank you
5.
very much. The
Mpumi,
champ is here.
Next round. You
Right, well, that is our Africa Month challenge. coming to you from the upside, and we are going to definitely be celebrating. I'm sure Tebogo is going to be celebrating throughout the rest of the show.
Because the champ is here.
No, but I gave you that mostly spoken language in Nigeria. They gave it to you. They just gave it to you.
Well, she tried to give you the first one. You just didn't guess properly. She gave you a range. The first one. She gave you the range.
Oh, you would not have guessed 70 either.
Close.
No.
Tell us if you would have done better. +2763 406 9126. In fact, tell us how many you got correct.
Yeah.
Because we got how many? 2 out of 2.
3 basically out of 5 combined.
Did you get 5 out of 5? Let us know on our social media platform. It's at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook.
Really looking forward to the next one. That was fun.
So when is it happening again?
No, she's not telling us.
Can you give us the topic?
In the next hour.
Yeah, topic. No. All right. It is at 2:00 Central African Time. Let us know on our social media platforms how well you fared in that quiz. But for now, we head on over to the top of the hour news with Joalane Tulo. Mwebe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Nompumelelo. Top stories is SABA countdown to the highly anticipated meeting between South Africa's president and his U.S. counterpart, and Sudan's army says it's liberated all of Khartoum state from the RSF. Good afternoon. As the day dawns in the United States Capitol, 2 teams from 2 presidencies are putting the final touches to a key bilateral meeting between South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa and his U.S. counterpart, Donald Trump. Sherwin Bryce-Pease brings us this special preview.
Wednesday has arrived with a sense of anticipation. Here, the weather is damp and any sunrise might be fleeting. After 2 days of marvelous spring weather, the drops from above might be seen as a subtle blessing for the South Africans in town. After all, as the African proverb teaches us, the rain beats the leopard skin, but it does not wash out the spots. The issues on the table substantive, alive with misconceptions, in addition to key economic and geopolitical interests. The guidance from the White House: meet at the door for a public welcome, go inside for a close lunch, and then the Oval Office showpiece, with the gathered media beaming every moment live around the world. Should be a fun day for those watching at home.
Meanwhile, South African civil rights organisation AfriForum has filed a court application in the High Court in Pretoria today, challenging aspects of the newly signed Expropriation Act 13 of 2024. The organisation argues that certain sections of the Act contain inherent contradictions and serious legal flaws. Signed into law by President Cyril Ramaphosa in December 2024, the Act is, according to AfriForum, a direct threat to the constitutional right to private property in South Africa. The group is asking the court to declare the legislation unconstitutional. AfriForum's head of public relations, Ernst van Zyl.
AfriForum assured our members and the public at the beginning of the year that we would fight this dangerous act both domestically and internationally. The spotlight that US President Donald Trump has so far placed on the threat this act poses to private property rights in South Africa is a welcome development. AfriForum's court case, in which we will test the constitutionality of the Expropriation Act, is our most important local battle in this fight for private property rights.
Sudan's army says it's liberated all of Khartoum state from the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. The move cements the army's control of central Sudan. The BBC's Barbara Pledasha has the details.
On Monday, the army launched an offensive to recapture these areas and now says it has done so. The center of the conflict is shifting to the RSF stronghold of Darfur in the west and to the southern Kordofan region. The army is battling to retake key cities in several states of Kordofan. That would provide a strategic access route to the embattled Darfur city of El Fasher.
Details remain sketchy around a group of migrants deported to South Sudan by U.S. President Donald Trump's administration. A flight carrying a dozen people had landed in Juba yesterday. A United States judge has now ruled that U.S. officials must retain custody and control of migrants sent to South Sudan. This is despite a court order restricting removals to other countries. Judge Brian Murphy issued the ruling after an emergency hearing, after attorneys for immigrants said the Trump administration appears appears to have begun deporting people from Myanmar and Vietnam to South Sudan. Channel Africa's correspondent Duku Wilson says this is not the first time the US has made a similar move.
This is not really something that everybody expected, because this is the second time. Last month in April, a Congolese was deported to Juba, and the government said, no, US, this is not ours. They decided to return the deportees. So it created a very serious diplomatic issue, whereby at the end, the South Sudan government had to accept the Congolese deportees. Now this one has happened again. But unfortunately, until now, the government has not issued an official statement regarding the deportees.
New figures showed tropical forests were lost at record levels last year. The World Resources Institute says deforestation almost doubled as many regions across the world struggle to control outbreaks of fire. The researchers say the equivalent of 18 football fields were lost every minute. Rod Taylor is the Global Director of Forest Program at the Institute.
The underlying cause of a lot of this is climate change, which is ultimately fueled by human activities. But it's not just now human activity that physically destroys forests. Fires that might have snuffed out fairly quickly are now spreading further and further.
Recapping the top story this hour, as the day dawns in the United States Capitol, two teams from two presidencies are putting the final touches to a key bilateral meeting between South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa and his US counterpart Donald Trump. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulongwebe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It is 7 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African time. Welcome to The Upside. It's the second hour of the show on Channel Africa for the African Perspective. The place to be. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. We are live on our social media platforms. You can stream us and see our lovely faces on Facebook. It's at Channel Africa. If you've got DSTV, it's Channel 802. We're broadcasting live from the Auckland Park Studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. We are debating whether it's actually cold outside or it's not really. It's a fake cold.
There is no debate. You're debating on your own with the wind. That's it.
Clearly I am. Anyway, exciting hour coming up for you. And in this hour, we'll be talking about transportation and the evolution and infrastructure.
We are speaking about transportation. And this is really because of it is evolving on the African continent. And it has highlighted some critical gaps. And I want to say that is quite literal in the potholes and the sinkholes that we are seeing. But there also are critical investment opportunities as well, right, that are shaping the future of Africa's transport and logistics industry. And that's what we're going to be tapping into, just exploring what are the potential investment opportunities? How does this affect trade between African countries when we do see the development of roads, infrastructure, as well as how will that look like in terms of the modes of transportation that are on our roads as well?
Oh, yes. And then we've got What Caught Your Eye coming up
yes,
later on in
very
this hour.
exciting. As you said earlier on in the show, it is a day of movement.
Yep.
And I love that. I really love that. Because it is, I feel like I feel it as well. There's a lot happening. I mean, on a personal note, if you just look at the news, there's a lot of movement happening. Certainly exciting on a personal note. And I think exciting news-wise as well, to see what comes out of the various things that are happening. The US-SA talks, what's happening in Kenya with the protests that we're seeing. Is there going to be change there?
Yes.
So
and
exciting times.
The budget speech, which is currently underway by the
3.0.
The finance minister of South Africa. 15% VAT remains as it stands. Anyway, just going back to that first conversation about the transportation and the evolution and the investment. I know China invests quite heavily to road infrastructure in certain parts of Africa. Because they've got vested interests in certain areas.
No, absolutely. I think it was Tammy that told us about their investment in Tanzania as well. Of late, they had a symposium of sorts. But they have a vested interest to ensure that there is infrastructure development so that the kind of trade deals that they get into with the various countries are possible.
Which is good. Which is good because the largest road network in the world, China holds that record. Because if you think in the 1990s, 1980s, they were not that big in terms of the road network, the cars that they were developing at the time, to where they are right now. They are definitely a key partner that we need in Africa. There are certain areas within Africa that are that you can't even get a car, a Range Rover, anything through that because the infrastructure does not exist. You're thinking about small-scale farmers trying to get their produce to big markets. They can't do that because the roads are not properly built and so on and so forth. So it's going to be an interesting conversation to see what the potential is and where the investment opportunities lie.
Coming up right after this. It's 11 minutes after 2 Central African time.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine, weekdays 6 till 9.
A Mauritanian appeals court has this week handed down a 15-year prison sentence and a hefty $3 million fine to the country's former president Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz for corruption, money laundering and illicit self-enrichment. The ruling upholds and escalates an earlier conviction from 2023, marking a significant moment in Mauritania's efforts to tackle high-level corruption.
In terms of the country fighting corruption, I think this case shows the seriousness of the country in trying to fight corruption. There is substantial evidence that indicates to the fact that he was corrupt. These cases are always very difficult to then be able to balance whether they're not politically motivated and also balancing the rule of law.
Nyasha Mpani, who's a project leader at the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation in South Africa.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. Broadcasting in 5 different languages, connecting the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Invest and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift.
Central African Time. That one is Dior by Chandana K featuring James Sakala. And it is leading us into a conversation around infrastructure development on the continent.
It is. It's interesting, right? When we spoke about, how do Africans get around and the investments of various countries who have a vested interest in expanding the road networks, improving on it, I often ask, does it benefit the locals? It should, right?
I think the sole reason, the sole reason should be the primary reason, right? Definitely.
And so we're going to be talking about the Transport Evolution Africa 2025, which will be taking place in June from the 17th to the 19th of June in Johannesburg. Africa is on the move, literally. With trade corridors expanding, populations booming, and the African Continental Free Trade Area promising deeper regional integration, modernization of transport is no longer optional. It's urgent. Transport Evolution Africa 2025, which is set for June in Johannesburg, will bring together industry players and government leaders to tackle the continent's infrastructure future. From digital innovation to funding models, this event is where blueprints become action. Do you remember the last time we had a sort of like a road infrastructure conversation?
Yeah.
I don't think much came out of that one. It sort of like it fell flat. But I think someone who's going to tell us a bit more about this event and the promises, and not just the promises, but the implementation of some of the conversations that we'll be having, is Sandra Barrow. Sandra Barrow from DMG Events. Thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Thank you for having me today.
Such a critical time for Africa's transport evolution. Tell us about this event, or shall we say Transport Evolution Africa 2025, and the significance of it at this time.
So I think from Transport Evolution Africa is really more ambitious and impactful than ever before. What makes it particularly exciting is that we are the only event in Africa which speaks to the interlink between the different modes of transport. So you're linking roads, port, rail, and air. And I think the show really aligns with the African Continental Free Trade Area goals. It emphasizes sustainability and digital innovation, and actually is also co-hosted with another major infrastructure show, Big Five. So this will jointly bring in over 12,000 visitors, over 100 exhibitors on our side, and over 300 on their side, and really with over 23 countries represented. So it really is an exceptional event, bringing together everybody to make big decisions within the sector.
That is the voice there of Sandra Barrow, and she is from DMG Events. It's 20 minutes after 2 Central African time. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
Update on Channel Africa with Lulu Kabu.
Protesters in Ghana have accused the country's president of violating the constitution and interfering in the independence of the judiciary. Eric Mawena Egbeta, the opposition protesters calling for the reinstatement of Tokonu.
The presidency and the president and all of its spokespersons around the seat of government have had one narrative and one narrative only, that no constitutional breaches have occurred in the process up until now, which has resulted in the suspension of the Chief Justice. In fact, it does appear the government has already communicated to these protesters that we're not interested in having the Chief Justice return and fill her position until the determination of the matter. We believe that she must remain suspended for the investigations to take place, after which the final determination will inform whether or not she returns.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time. Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside. Your daily dose of inspiration, innovation, and untold stories from across Africa. With Nompumelelo and Tebego.
It is 21 minutes after 2 Central African time. We're still in conversation with Sandra Barrow, and she is from DMG Events. Sandra, tell us about what you think it'll take for Africa to lead globally in transport as well as logistics.
To be fair, I think we've got a lot of work to do for us to lead as a continent. And there are a few elements that I really think that we need to kind of focus on. And that is modernizing our ports, roads, and rail kind of infrastructure. We really need to focus on upgrading, expanding transport corridors and logistics hubs. And then certainly from a public-private partnership perspective, we need to leverage capital, private capital, and expertise. But there certainly are a few others going on that we really need to focus on, and that is your policy and regulation, certainly from a green transport logistics perspective. But I mean, I think as we all know, there's a lot to do, but there is a lot of hope and a lot of brains behind it that are putting a lot of effort into making this all work.
And Sandra, will the Transport Evolution Africa 2025 address some of these issues and provide a way forward?
Yes, I mean, we are. We have a conference that we have on site where we will have, powers and brains behind all of these conference speaking sessions who will really dive deep into all of these issues. And I think it's really important that we have a lot of these people sitting around the tables, being able to make the decisions there and then, and having those conversations, being able to talk about the future and what's needed.
And then I need to also ask, in terms of investment, you had mentioned that private investment will be required from a capital point of view. When we then look at other countries investing into Africa, are we seeing a rise and an interest shown from other countries? Earlier, we were having conversations and saying China seems to have a vested interest in Africa, and perhaps they will also play a role in the infrastructure.
Yes, I mean, I think that's the aim, that's why we are having these discussions, these private partnership discussions. And it's really, really important for us to get investors into the country in order to upgrade all the infrastructure, in order for us to move forward as a country and as a continent. There is certainly a lot of investment happening in our country, and I think South Africa's earmarked over 940 billion for us specifically for infrastructure development between 25 and 28, and that's also international infrastructure investors coming into play. So I think yes is the answer, and I think we are very excited about what that promises to look like in the future.
Sandra, tell us about the role of AI, digitization. It is a big topic right now. There is no sector that is not adopting the use of technology and AI into its systems. What role do you see it transforming the transport sector?
So, I mean, obviously it plays a huge role, and certainly from an AI perspective, traffic optimization is really important, data-driven decisions. AI analyzes the transport data to guide this infrastructure planning and investment, which is really important. And AI really helps anticipate equipment failures, reducing downtime and costs. So I think from that side, it's really important. From an IT perspective, real-time tracking and fleet management, and certainly smart infrastructure. So connected roads and bridges and railways kind of enhances safety and performance. And then I guess finally, from your ports perspective, automation is really important. Robotics and AI really streamlines the cargo handling and reduces turnaround times. And then integrated logistics. Your smart ports kind of connect seamlessly with rail and road networks, which really boosts your supply chain efficiency. And I think together these technologies really reduce costs, they increase reliability and attract global trade, and then kind of positioning us as a modern logistics hub, as we can say.
And Sandra, the Transport CEO Forum is a standout feature this year. What are the key objectives of bringing together 30 top African transport CEOs all in one room?
So I think, to be honest, the main aim of this is really to get them exchanging experiences, challenges, trends, and really insights with their peers across the continent. And as a collective, they can then plot the way forward with the best minds in industry working together. They've all come together deciding what the forum looks like, what they're discussing, whether it be financial investment, viability, regulatory reforms, etc., emerging technologies. And the objective of all of this is really to assist in discussions in coming up with plans and in place in order to move forward as a continent.
I mean, speaking about the event, the special economic zone promises to be a major attraction. What kind of investment or policy dialogues are expected to emerge from this platform?
So I think, the focus from this area specifically is really an unparalleled opportunity for government and financiers and private sector stakeholders to network and explore investment prospects. And I think from a dialogue perspective, coming out of that really is your regulatory framework. So your dialogues on your SEZ policies, again, your public-private partnerships, and then really from an SEZ growth opportunities. So presentations kind of on emerging investment trends across 300 of your special economic zones. There are quite a few. Obviously, there's discussions from an African perspective, local as well as international, and really to also showcase infrastructure projects. So showcases of your port, road, rail expansions are obviously tied into this, but then obviously from an investment perspective is to showcase what projects can be invested within.
And what does it mean for the event for Kenya Airways to be its official international airline partner?
I think from a partnership perspective, it really kind of signals your strong regional collaboration and positions the event really as a continental platform for trade, investment and innovation, and also for our aims to globally expand, especially within the African continent. It really gives us a good kind of global profile working together with them. And also they connect major global hubs to Africa. So it makes it easier for international delegates, investors and exhibitors to attend the event in Johannesburg. And also they are obviously an African carrier. So they represent the continent's growing aviation and logistics capabilities. So we are really, really excited to be partnering with them, and we look at the growth going forward with them in the coming years.
Sandra, thank you so much for your insights this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me today.
That's Sandra Barrow of DMG Events there to us. It sounds like a very exciting event.
It does.
And one that will have a lot of exchanges of ideas about how to embetter the transport sector on the continent. So if you are in the sector, maybe one for you to look out for sure.
I wonder if they will accommodate in the future, hovercrafts. Hovercrafts.
Tell me, what are hovercrafts?
It's almost like a flying machine, but it's not. But it hovers over the ground. So instead of with wheels, it's got little inflated base.
But so like a drone.
Like a drone, but it hovers very low, and so that one doesn't really require like a tarmac. It just you just need to ensure that you're not going over speed humps because it can't go that low.
So, but will it transport things, people?
I've seen people try to use it in farming. It's the most hilarious thing ever because you can't control that thing. Anyway, it's my mind just veering off and doing weird things. It's the 30 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African time. The latest sports headlines with Fikile Lingwati is coming up next.
Sports on Channel Africa.
The African perspective.
Let's start off with athletics this hour. The president of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, Bok Okowa, is exhilarated about the CAA's delegation feedback on the state of readiness for the inspection they done. The Confederation of African Athletics Federation is also satisfied with the inspection they have conducted in Abeokuta, the capital of Ogun State in southwest Nigeria last week, as preparations intensify for the highly anticipated Africa Under-18 Under-20 Athletics Championship to be held on the 16th to the 20th of July 2025.
They've been here and we've been going around for the inspection. They went around all the facilities and then all the accommodations that we are supposed to use. We discussed the logistics, transportation and whatever, and they seem to be happy with what they have seen. So far, so good. There are no complaints yet. No doubt there are maybe little things that we need to put in place, and those things will be taken care of in no distant time. So they are very happy about what they have seen, and I'm also very happy with them.
And the Kenyan athletes intending to participate in the national trials for the Tokyo World Championships have until the 24th of May to partake in a first no-notice out-of-competition anti-doping test. In a communication sent to athletes from the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, ADAC, and the Athletics Kenya, athletes who will not have complied by Saturday will automatically be locked out of the national trials. ADAC and the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, requires all athletes who intend to compete in the Tokyo World Championships to undergo 3 mandatory anti-doping tests, with the first no-notice out-of-competition test to be done on or before the 25th of May. The mandatory testing is a crucial requirement stipulated under the rule of WADA. Any athlete under the jurisdiction of Athletics Kenya whose first no-notice out-of-competition test is conducted after Saturday will be deemed ineligible for selection to Team Kenya for the World Championships in Tokyo. 2 down on their luck, English Premier League sides, Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur, will compete in the final of the Europa League tonight in Bilbao, in northern Spain. Neither side is under any illusion that winning the Europa League will fix their problems, but both hope it can serve as temporary confidence booster ahead of redoubling their efforts for next season. Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim was brutally honest when he said that winning the Europa League would not solve any of the club's many problems.
I think it's hard to speak about that in this moment because we need to be excited and confident. But we already know the problems. There's a lot of things that we need to change in our club, the way we do everything during the week in Carrington, the recruitment, the academy. I think we need to improve. So it's hard to point one thing, and that will not be solved by winning a cup. I think I will say it again. For me, we have bigger things to deal with to put this club back to the top.
Tottenham Hotspur, meanwhile, is a club with its own problems. They're sitting in 17th place on the log table, one spot lower than United, and the future of their manager, Ange Postecoglou, is far from certain. A cup win would help to keep the continuity that Postecoglou is looking for in building towards the next season.
I don't think my job is done here. We're just, I really feel like we're building something, and what a trophy does is hopefully accelerates that. So I still think there's a lot of work to be done.
Finally, Sam Cooke will make his England debut in this week's test against Zimbabwe, while fellow fast bowler George Tang features for the first time in 2 years. Cooke's place in the England team at Trent Bridge on Thursday is a reward for a sustained spell as one of counties cricket's most consistent wicket takers with Essex. 27-year-old's 227 county championship wickets are the most by any seamer over the last 5 years. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fire Lengwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in business on Channel Africa.
The president of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea, Dr. Sidi Ould Tah, he is vying for the presidency of the African Development Bank, the AFDB. He positions himself as a fervent defender of economic integration and structural transformation on the African continent.
So I do believe that I have a 360 view of the development challenges in the continent with my experience from both the supply side and the demand side. But more importantly, my vision is to bring on board all the stakeholders and to have a holistic approach for the development of the continent and to develop partnership across the continent and outside the continent, bringing all the stakeholders together to work for one goal is to make Africa green for life and livelihood of the African population.
Bringing the African markets into your home. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
36 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African time. Let's get the latest in business news with Nosipho Zuma.
Business news on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Thank you, Tebego. Good afternoon. In your business news this hour, apartheid activist and clergyman Dr. Alan Bosak says that the South African government is set on pursuing policies that serve the rich. He formed part of a media briefing addressed by leaders from organized labor and community-based organizations ahead of the budget speech. They voiced their concerns about the prospect of deepening austerity measures. Unions, civil society groups, and education bodies are also expected to gather in District 6 for protest marches ahead of Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's third attempt to table the budget. Bosak says the government has killed the hope of economic freedom.
A government pursuing economic policies that respond to what the rich and the powerful want, but do not seem to be able to understand what it is that is for the common good, that serves the common needs of our people. It's a policy that has smashed to pieces the hopes that we once had at the beginning of the dawn of democracy and have not been fulfilled, not because we could not, but because there was a decision not to. That made us the most unequal society in the world today.
Buasak has called for the current government to go. He says the national dialogue called for by former President Thabo Mbeki will not change the state of the country for better.
For our people, it is still apartheid, but with even more burdens, heavier burdens to carry. It is about our people stop complaining, say, oh, there's yet another budget coming. There will always be the budget as long as you have this government. It's about the government. They have to go. The people in charge cannot give you a new vision. This thing that they are talking about, a national dialogue where they will bring us a new vision, how can the very same people who caused the crisis of the last 30 years pretend to be those to come with a solution to the crisis they have created?
South Africa's Competition Commission has recommended France's Canal Plus to take over of pay TV broadcaster MultiChoice Group. A final approval is granted. The deal would be transformative for Canal Plus as part of its expansion in Africa, particularly in English-speaking regions. Canal Plus, which spun off from parent company Vivendi in December, made a firm offer last year of 125 South African rand in cash per MultiChoice share that it does not own, or about $1.96 billion. The International Monetary Fund's first Deputy Managing Director, Geeta Gopinath, says the U.S. fiscal deficit are too large and the country needs to tackle its ever-increasing debt burden. Gopinath says that the U.S. is still impacted by very elevated trade policy uncertainty despite positive developments such as President Donald Trump's administration rolling back tariffs on China and striking a U.S.-UK economic deal. The IMF slashed its U.S. growth forecast in April, along with most other countries, over the impact of U.S. tariffs, while warning that further trade tensions would slow growth further. And finally, Eurozone government bond yields have risen as higher oil prices added further pressure to longer-dated bonds, already struggling globally due to worries about countries' fiscal positions, particularly the U.S. Germany's 10-year yield, the benchmark for the Eurozone, rose 6 basis points to 2.66%, while Italy's 10-year yield climbed nearly 9 basis points to 3.7%. Partly responsible for the move was oil, as Brent crude futures rose more than 1% on Wednesday after reports that Israel could be preparing to strike Iranian nuclear facilities. Your financial indicators: $1 US in Nigeria is trading at 1,600 naira 79. In Botswana, it's 30 pula 39. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 49, and in Zambia, it's 27 kwacha 05. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 65. Russia is 80 rubles 54. India is 85 rupees 51. China at 7 yuan 21, and in South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 99. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,309 and platinum at $1,046 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $66.37 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nusi Posoma.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix. uzuri na ukubwa wa kazi yako unatokana na nini?
Kwanza kabisa ni kujifunza vitu mbalimbali, lakini pia kuvaa uhalisia wa jamii kile inachopitia, kujifunza vitu vipya, lakini pia kufanya mazoezi na kumshirikisha Mungu katika career yangu ya muziki.
Bila shaka. Je, management na wadhamini vile vile wana nafasi kubwa au wana nafasi gani katika mafanikio yako kikazi?
Niseme labda wana 99% katika mafanikio ya muziki wangu, management au mabosi wangu.
Umewahi pia kupokea salamu za pongezi au ukosoaji kuhusiana na muziki wako?
Nilishapokea nyingi sana kutoka sehemu mbalimbali, DRC, Tanzania na East Africa nzima kwa jumla.
Tuzungumzie kuhusu ukosoaji sasa. Unajisikia pale unapokosolewa?
Najisikia vizuri sana. Unajua usipokosolewa ina maana wewe sio binadamu wa kawaida, kwa sababu asiyekosolewa pekee ni Mungu.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Call us on +27 63 406 9126 and contribute to the conversation.
Stone and every triumph, not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe.
Hi, Tebogo, what caught your eye, sir?
Moving Day is what caught my eye, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's a moving day. U.S. President and South African President are coming together at 5:30 p.m. Central African Time. That conversation will kick off. So I wanted us to get into a conversation about what they will be discussing.
Sure.
The expectations, and then I would love to hear from you at home how you think it's going to play out. Some have likened this opportunity to the one that recently happened between him and the U.S. president, that is, and the Ukraine president, where it turned out to be a rather messy situation. So some are saying it might be as messy or similar for the president of South Africa. So they're going to be talking about a few things, right? From the U.S. point of view, their demands and sort of what they're bringing to the table are conversations about the genocide rhetoric, all right? They want the president to denounce chants like kill the Boer, kill the farmer, which he and his administration view as inciting violence against white South African farmers. This is the U.S. now, of course. And then talks about the Black Economic Empowerment Laws, BEE laws, that are exempting certain countries and people and races from doing business in South Africa. Reversal of the Expropriation Act, right? They want, because the act allows the government to seize land without compensation under certain conditions. And he views this law as discriminatory, especially against white landowners. And then realignment of foreign policy. The U.S. has expressed concerns over South Africa's strengthening ties with nations like Iran and its legal actions against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Trump has urged Ramaphosa to reconsider these alliances. So that's what the USA wants to address.
Sure.
South Africa, on the other hand, they want to provide clarity on the land reform and crime situation, saying that it has been described as mischaracterization regarding reform and crime in South Africa, emphasizing that farm attacks are part of broader crime issues and not racially motivated. Right? They want to talk about continuation of AGOA benefits. South Africa is seeking to maintain its benefit under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which provides duty-free access to the U.S. markets, despite indications that the U.S. might not renew that agreement. So these are the things that they'll be talking about. I think what raises an eyebrow is the delegation that's going with Cyril Ramaphosa as well. Johan Rupert, South African businessman and entrepreneur and multi-billionaire. He's part of the delegation.
So, yeah, he's part of the delegation. So is Ernie Els?
Ernie Els, who has the last time he won a trophy or, did fantastic things was back when South Africa was still a rainbow nation. And then you have John Steenhuisen, Minister of Agriculture. My question is, why is Johan? Why is Johan Rupert going to talk about governmental things?
It's a very good question. And I was one of those who was confused until I actually came upon an article this morning by journalist Redi Tlhabi, who's also based in the US.
Yeah.
And it made all the sense to me, answered this question about why Johan Rupert is a key part of this delegation to the US. And she argues that a key part But I want to ask you, do you have an influential friend and a wealthy friend who's ever done or gotten you out of a sticky situation?
Oh, unfortunately not.
Not?
Unfortunately. Well, I'm not that connected.
Really?
Sounds like you do, though. Tell us about this person.
I'm not going to tell you about the people.
But you
my whole life, I think, is just about having a network of people that will come to my aid as I do to them.
Okay.
And I'll tell you about off-air, a kiddie's birthday party I went to that changed my thinking around networks. But Ridi Kabi, in her article answering the question about why Johan Rupert is a key delegation to the US, says, it is your rich and influential friend that will help you get out of a sticky situation where not even as a president of a leading African country, not even your diplomacy can get you out. It is that rich man that is respected, that is connected, that will get you an opportunity to even speak to the party that is upset with you and cutting you off.
There are other rich people, though, in South Africa.
It is Johan Rupert that brokered the conversation, not even just for Trump to have the conversation and open the Oval Office up to a South African delegation to have these conversations, and hence he is there. But apparently it's also not new for business leaders to be part of diplomatic or governmental conversations of this type, where trade will be a big part of the conversation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because they are they're industry leaders in the business world. They understand the climate. They have grievances of their own or ideas of their own.
Yeah.
And that's also another reason why Rupert is there. And apparently a very interesting fact about John Steenhuisen, not just because he is a part of the GNU and, he would be an understandable representative to go through, but he's also an avid golfer. And apparently Trump loves to talk about golf. Hence Ernie Els. And where are business deals said to be on the golf course? And we don't know if Trump, perhaps on a personal note, looks up to Ernie Els, and that will be like a little bit of a soft touch there,
There's strategy behind it.
Everything is thoroughly thought out. But I thought it was so interesting that it was Rupert, Johan Rupert, who actually got Trump to agree to this meeting. And then, they positioned it as Trump having called the meeting last week. Because Ramaphosa, quite frankly, and South Africa needed that opportunity to just say, hey, let's chat.
Let's talk.
Johan Rupert, that rich guys have at the very least one influential and rich friend. It's gonna
be the Billionaires Boys Club coming together. Is Elon going to be a part of this?
Yes, it was said that Elon met, I understand, with Steenhuisen and Park Stau.
Is it?
Where Park Stau was, because Elon does not want to follow South African regulations of having businesses operate in the country, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to broker some kind of deal that would have an element of BEE. It's quite technical in that's the easiest way to.
It's revolving the Starlink.
Starlink, yeah. Okay. Starlink. He's still pushing for Starlink to be operational in the country. It was previously denied because he wants to flout regulations.
Yeah, you need to have a certain percentage of
black
or previously disadvantaged people on your board.
By take home. Have an influential friend. To get you out of sticky situations.
Will they discuss then the HIV and TB aid that they've pulled out? Will it be brought back to the table?
We'll see. I don't know. I know that first and foremost is trade. It's trade. That we need money. We need economic stimulation. But I have a question from all of this.
What's the question?
Who is your friend, your go-to person that you call? You know that once I have this one, all my problems are gone. Whether it be getting my foot in the door, whether it be negotiating, whether it be just monetary.
I don't think people are going to be open and say, oh, Because what if someone knows the president of the country?
But say I know a person who has done this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Head on over to our TikTok account and let us know if you have an influential person who's gotten you out of a sticky situation, and if you believe that these people are imperative to have in your life, like I do.
Now I need to find a person, and I need to make them
your friend quickly.
Best friend quickly. What caught your eye?
It is 3 minutes before we head on over to 3 o'clock Central African time.
Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside with Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebego Lekhuleni. Bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories.
When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice.
It's getting a little bit rowdy. It's Kiss Daniel featuring Angelique Kidjo and Johnny D, bringing us to exactly 3 o'clock Central African time. And just as Finance Minister here in South Africa, Enoch Godongwana, wraps up his budget speech 3.0. But Jolane Tulo standing by with the very latest in news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Top stories: Asawa final touches to US-SA bilaterals and all of Khartoum state liberated from the RSF. Good afternoon. I'm Jolani Tulo Webe. As the day dawns in the United States Capitol, 2 teams from the 2 presidencies are putting the final touches to key bilateral meeting between South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa and his counterpart Donald Trump. Sharon Bryce Pease brings us the special preview.
Wednesday has arrived with a sense of anticipation. Here, the weather is damp and any sunrise might be fleeting. After 2 days of marvellous spring weather, the drops from above might be seen as a subtle blessing for the South Africans in town. After all, as the African proverb teaches us, the rain beats the leopard skin, but it does not wash out the spots. The issues on the table substantive, alive with misconceptions, in addition to key economic and geopolitical interests. The guidance from the White House: meet at the door for a public welcome, go inside for a closed lunch, and then the Oval Office showpiece, with the gathered media beaming every moment live around the world. Should be a fun day for those watching at home.
Meanwhile, residents of Nompumelelo in South Africa's Mpumalanga province have expressed mixed opinions regarding the highly anticipated meeting between Ramaphosa and Trump. These Nompumelelo residents had this to say.
Ramaphosa and President Donald Trump are going to have a resolution because both countries need each other. South Africa is transporting minerals to the US, then the US is transporting money here, so I think there will be a resolution.
Actually, when they just because 49 people, they said they're not safe in our country, they don't feel safe no more. But there's a lot of things we should be worried about as a country rather than just 49 people who live for some reasons we don't know. They're telling us that they live because they're not safe, but according to what I know, there's a lot of people who got farms, stores, like they got a lot of things in South Africa and they're feeling safe.
Details remain sketchy around a group of migrants deported to South Sudan by U.S. President Donald Trump's administration. A flight carrying a dozen people had landed in Juba yesterday. A United States judge has now ruled that U.S. officials must retain custody and control of migrants sent to South Sudan. This is despite a court order restricting removals to other countries. Judge Brian Murphy issued the ruling after an emergency hearing in which attorneys for immigrants said the Trump administration appears to have begun deporting people from Myanmar and Vietnam to South Sudan. Channel Africa's correspondent Duku Wilson says this is not the first time the US has made a similar move.
This is not really something that everybody expected, because this is the second time. Last month in April, a Congolese was deported to Juba, and the government said, no, US, this is not ours. They decided to return the deportees. So it created a very serious diplomatic issue, whereby at the end, the South Sudan government had to accept the Congolese deportees. Now this one has happened again. But unfortunately, until now, the government has not issued an official statement regarding the deportees.
Sudan's army says it's liberated all of Khartoum state from the paramilitary rapid support forces. The move cements the army's control of central Sudan. The BBC's Barbara Plett-Usher has the story.
On Monday, the army launched an offensive to recapture these areas and now says it has done so. The center of the conflict is shifting to the RSF stronghold of Darfur in the west and to the southern Kordofan region. The army is battling to retake key cities in several states of Kordofan. That would provide a strategic access route to the embattled Darfur city of El Fasher.
U.S. President Donald Trump has set out plans for a futuristic missile defense system that will shield the entire U.S. from aerial strikes. Trump said the Golden Dome would be developed by America's Space Force and could be operational before he leaves office. The BBC's Peter Bowes says the project faces funding uncertainty.
The chances are reasonably good that Donald Trump will get the initial $25 billion, but there is a big question mark over whether the money will be there to complete the project, and just completing the project is a matter of huge debate here. Some experts are suggesting that it just simply isn't possible to protect a country of this size with this kind of technology. Just getting the hardware in place in space, the logistics, is going to be a huge task.
Recapping the top story this hour, as the day dawns in the United States Capitol, two teams from two presidencies are putting the final touches to a key bilateral meeting between South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Cholani Tulo Webe.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African...
Final hour of The Upside. Welcome back. And thank you so much for staying tuned to The Upside on Channel Africa. Lots of wonderful programming lined up for you today. We are in the hour where we wind it down slightly.
We wind it down. We talk about paddle. All right, it's become actually, let's be honest,
the thing to do.
It's never been it's not a sport, guys. That's a lifestyle. That's like golf. We just do it to connect.
I will not appreciate any slander directed at paddle. What do you mean? Golf is not a sport either?
Okay, no. Golf is an actual sport, but the reasons why people go and golf is for networking.
Not for sport.
No, it's not really for sport. No, come on. Let's be honest. The only place where it's an actual thing is when there's a golf tournament and there's prize money is involved
by professionals.
But when we go out to paddle as a group of friends or maybe business associates, we go there to connect and hash out some plans and sign off some deals. It's now become the new golf course.
Right.
It's paddle. So we'll be talking all about Sandton City's rooftop
skyline paddle,
which is brilliant. I think I love the concept. I mean, they're open from 5:30 in the morning to midnight. I haven't seen other paddle courts open that long throughout the day.
They are.
Are they? But do they offer the views?
The one closest to me, maybe not those views aren't, the best. No, not the best. But nighttime paddling is definitely funner because there are lights. It's also cooler.
Yes,
it's a bit of a vibe. And they also have like a little seating area. But I'm pretty sure that the Sandton City one is something different.
I can't wait. I'm all for views. I love anything that has a view, especially when you're elevated.
Yeah.
I remember going to, and I know it sounds a bit off, an old Sanddeck. I know
Sanddeck. I remember Sanddeck.
Right?
Yeah.
Sanddeck, when you're having dinner, and just as the sun is going down, sunset.
Stunning.
It's the most beautiful thing ever.
And also on cold nights. Sanddeck, I remember, used to be really lovely on colder nights because then they'd have like the bomber. Remember the bomber? And then they'd give you like little blankets.
And the gas heaters. They have them all around.
Just so lovely. So very lovely. Stick around if you want to know more about paddle, what it's all about, and what are the different offerings, because there's so many paddle courts. There are paddle courts mushroom. It is quite. They're mushrooming everywhere.
They're mushrooming literally everywhere. I was thinking about it now because I went somewhere. Where was it? I can't remember if it was in Clarence or somewhere.
Yeah.
In the wilderness.
Yeah, the latest place, it has been Clarence.
Right, is it? There's some place in the wilderness where there's no life for the next 10, 30 kilometers.
Yeah.
But there was a paddle court there. I was like, my goodness me. So they are springing up everywhere, which is brilliant.
All right. Stay tuned for that one. It's 11 minutes after 3 Central African time.
Sur Channel Africa.
Révérend Docteur Alain.
Je suis content, très heureux d'être de la partie ce soir et bonjour à tous nos auditeurs.
Je rappelle que pour les intimes, il vous appelle bien sûr BMB. Aujourd'hui, nous parlons courage sur Mix Vibration. Comment définissez-vous le terme courageux?
Ça vient du latin corps. Je veux tout simplement exprimer la bravoure, la force de l'âme ou encore la virilité, le
égoïsme que quelqu'un peut avoir en face de difficultés, en face de problèmes, en face de défis.
Mix Vibration, tous les dimanches de 18h à 19h, temps universel.
Zochitika ndimadapiri kamlondola wazochitika pena paliponse.
Aphungu a nyumba ya malamulo mu dziko la Malawi akuchita zokambirana zawo pa zinthu zosiyanasiyana pambuyo pa nyumbayi kutsegulidwa masiku apitawo, ndipo kondani Nyamasa ukali nafe pompano chiyambireni aphungu akukambirana masiku apitawo ndi zovuta ziti zomwe zachitika mu nyumba imeneyi ya malamulo.
Ndingathe kunena kuti state of national address imene a president Dr. Lazarus Chakwera akhala kuipereka mnyumba ya malamulo imeneyi idautsa mpungwepungwe kwambiri nyumbayi, chifukwa pofika panopa mene ndikuyankhula pano ndiye kuti munafuna kubuka ndewu mnyumbayi. Leader of the house olemekezeka Richard Kimwendo Banda kuyimirira kuyankha koma mopsa mtima zimene amayankhula phungu oyimira ku Blantyre City South East Pasama Suleiman kunena kuti sona imene adapereka president pa 14 February ikuonetsa kuti palibe chilichonse cha zero chimene chidaperekedwa mu sona imeneyi, akuti imene ayichotse.
Zochitika ndimadapiri lolemba mpaka lachisanu pa nthawi ya 7 koloko kufikira 8 koloko madzulo pa Channel Africa.
Channel Africa, your voice, your sound, and your home. Stay locked right here.
Ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver.
It's Harmonize with Magufuli, and that one bringing us to 17 minutes after 3 Central African time as I pass the ball to Tebego. You need to... Huh? Oh, there we go. I scored.
Heart love or something like that.
What?
Heart love.
What's that?
Zero love.
Oh, there we go. Zero love. Yeah, that's right.
All right, no hearting was involved there. It's zero love to Nompumelelo. If you're looking to break a sweat and make new friends, paddle might be your perfect match. It's fast, it's fun, and it's social, and it's taking South Africa by storm. One venue leading the charge is Net Set Paddle, perched on the rooftop of Sandton City. From sunrise workouts to night games under the city lights, it's more than a sport, it's an experience. To chat to us about the paddle and how NetSet is changing the fitness game, we are joined by Ambassador at NetSet Paddle and co-founder of Lux Paddle Events, Jamila Kasim. Jamila, thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Thank you so much. I'm so pleased for you to have me today. Thank you.
Jamila, for those who are not familiar with paddle, walk us through it. For some people say, no, it's just tennis, just on a smaller court. But what is paddle in your view?
Okay, so paddle is actually quite an old game, and it was, I think, established about 30 years ago. It was founded in Mexico, but it's only become quite popular here in South Africa over the last 3 years. So paddle is a kind of a combination between tennis and squash. The court is smaller. Its standard size is a 10 by 20 meter. So that's basically it. Your scoring is as per tennis. And like I said, the rules just change a little bit, but it's kind of a combination between tennis and squash.
What do you think, Jamila, has led to the popularity of now I want to say squash, of a paddle in the past couple of years, particularly here in South Africa?
Well, I think, it's been trending globally quite recently. But I think what's made it very, very popular is the ease of entry into the sport. So you do not have to have played a racket sport before. The entry level is literally zero. You can pick up a paddle today and you can get on the court and you can start playing. And I think it's just something that anyone and everyone is free to join. You've got people who are in their 70s and 80s on the court, and some as young as 3 and 4 years old. So there's no discrimination. You don't, even if you haven't been a sporty person, it's something that you can take up at any stage in your life and have fun with. It's also a very social event. So unlike tennis, which is quite a niche, amount of people that can play in it, so, paddle is very, very open. You don't even have to know your opponents. There's a central booking system called Playtomic, which makes it so easy for you to hop onto any matches at any one of your favorite franchises, and you're ready to get on the court and play and have some fun.
We're talking all things paddle. Have you tried it out before? What do you think? It's 20 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African time. Don't go anywhere. We have more questions to ask, particularly a rooftop paddle. That sounds like quite the vibe.
Man.
Don't go anywhere.
I'd just go for the views. Yeah?
Same here.
Hey there, this is Palisa Tau, part of the dynamic duo that gives you on the move right here on Channel Africa from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Africa time. Well, it's with your help for the past 2 years that we have been a multi-award winning show.
Finally, yeah, we're keeping it on the move in 2025. And yes, I'm the other half of the duo, Benjamin Mushatama, and we're going to keep you going with the great conversations.
Turn it up. Okay. On the Move comes back in 2025 to give you more of the content that made us Amaldo and to deliver that bold, boundary-pushing content that you love. And of course, giving you a ride through the 3 hours of news, views, and entertainment.
Every weekday from 9 to midday Central African time, right here on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Cool.
Let's go.
Fresh and exciting. The Upside, hooking you up with today's news from the African perspective.
It's 21 minutes after 3 Central African time. We're still in conversation with Jamila Kasim, who's a Net Set Sandton City ambassador, and that is, we're talking all things paddle. Jamila, something that has been raised about paddle is the pricing thereof. While you say that people can access it quickly, and that's what has led to the popularity of the sport itself. Let's talk about the pricing. What informs this pricing point? Because you're looking at sometimes 700 rands upwards.
Yes, it's 700 rands upwards, but what makes it affordable is that you're not paying that entire amount for the 60-minute or 90-minute period that you are playing. You have 4 players, and each one pays their part of it. So it's quite reasonably priced. The problem comes in when you become a paddle addict and you literally want
and that's
to play
very easy to
day.
do. It's easy to do.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had so many people saying, I don't know what I was doing before I started playing paddle, and I don't know where the money is just keeps on coming from. But paddle is such a social event, and it's such a healthy addiction to have. So you find that a lot of people who might have been going out drinking or going to lots of restaurants have rather decided to place that money that they used to spend on those activities and putting it into paddle. And I can't think of anything better to do than to invest in yourself, body, mind and soul. You're on the court, you exercising, you socializing with lots of people who have the same likes as you. So for me, it's a fantastic investment.
And Jamila, what makes Net Set Sandton City stand out? I mean, we're going to highlight the location, of course. The rooftop sounds like a brilliant idea. How are people taking this initiative?
Well, I think it's one of the best venues. I will go as far to say not just in the country, but on the continent. It's spectacular views, 360 views of the Sandton skyline. You have the most amazing sunrises and sunsets while you're playing paddle. There's a beautiful outdoor viewing deck, which is there's plans for a lovely sundowner venue to take place there. There's world-class indoor courts, 4 indoor courts and 4 outdoor courts. So the venue itself is just really beautiful, and it lends itself to a lot more than just paddle. What's happening is that with Net Set Paddle, I think that their approach is to make it a lifestyle rather than just a sport. So you find that you have families that come in together playing paddle, but you have events also which cater for children, where you might have art jamming, and then it caters for one or the other spouse who perhaps doesn't really fit into the paddle scene, but wants to take part in Pilates or yoga or parkour. So there's lots of these events which the club does hold, and they promote it because this is the lifestyle that they want to put out there and that they represent.
You touched on a lifestyle or rather entertainment aspect of it when you spoke about possibly a bar being set up. Currently, what other amenities, just for socializing's purpose, after a game of paddle, are there?
Well, we have a lovely coffee shop and an outdoor area where you can sit and you can maybe have a drink before you play or after you play. Lots of mums who have dropped their kids off at school go in for a nice game of paddle, and after that enjoy a cup of coffee and whatever treats the coffee shop is offering. There's a lot of events that happen, such like birthday parties. People are having themed events. They'll either have birthday parties. You get a lot of brides who come in and have a paddle party instead of a bachelorette party. We've had 40th birthday parties thrown there. So it really, really offers itself to an entertainment venue as well as a sporting event venue.
And Jamila, just to confirm, when we do come to Net Set Paddle in Sandton City, we don't need to have our own paddle, what do you call it, bats, rackets, right?
Yes, absolutely. You obviously want to get a feel for the rackets, as there's different types of rackets. So what Net Set Paddle has is that they offer a rental. You would pay 50 Rand for a racket and you would use that if you do not have your own.
Okay.
And how? Yeah, go ahead.
And I was going to ask trading hours, just to confirm for those who are planning for the week ahead and the weekend, trading hours, please.
The club is just flexible with that. I mean, like open from 5 o'clock in the morning. Like I said, you have your sunrisers who are playing paddle early in the morning and start their day off on a very active and fresh note. And the club normally is open up until 10 o'clock at night, but it's dependent on bookings. If there's bookings that are made, and it's later, then the staff are just so amenable, so helpful, so professional, and they are extremely, extremely accommodating.
Well, Jamila, tell us about where people can find you on social media, perhaps a website if there's one.
Yes. You can find us on Instagram at NetSet Paddle or NetSet Paddle Sandton City. And you will find the website on the Instagram page. We have a WhatsApp group, which is quite extensive. Actually, we've got 2 now because there's so many members to the group. So if you pop in at Sandton City on the rooftop on level 8, it's just above the Tiger Wheel and Tire. That's where the courts are located. Our friendly staff will offer you with all the information that you require. But NetSet Paddle as a brand isn't just based in, on the rooftop. It's from rooftops to resorts. And I think the first NetSet Paddle was at Camps Bay, which is arguably the best located court in terms of scenery, because it's nestled between the mountain and the sea in Camps Bay. Absolutely stunning. So the backdrops are beautiful. And then you have obviously Sandton City. In Bloemfontein, there's 2 venues at Ramblers and O Studenta. In Secunda, they've just opened up a new venue there. Bruma in Johannesburg, Marks Park in Emerentia, and the most I think the most entertaining court and resort-driven court is Sun City.
Wow.
Can imagine how much fun that could be. Eh?
Amazing.
Camp Space.
Yeah, and I think I'd just like to also just mention that the courts are just, beautiful international spec courts, especially the ones at Sandton City. And not only is it, a social venue for entertainment, the club hosts many, many competitive tournaments. And you will find that these tournaments attract all of the best players from within the country, but also many international players as well. And as recently as about a month ago, we had 12 players that came through from Angola, and Sandton City was one of their paddle venues that they travel to every year. They have 2 venues that they go to each year, and this last month, Sandton City was their chosen venue.
Jamila, thank you so much for your time and for getting us so excited to try out paddle. Those who haven't, we are one of those.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
No, speak for yourself.
Have you tried paddle?
Of course I've played the paddle.
My My bad. I am excited as someone who's never tried it before. But thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
I'd just like to mention also that we have proof that you have said that you're coming through to visit us at the court.
Yes,
so
we'll see you tomorrow evening. That is when we are coming through.
Fantastic. We'll see you then.
All right. That is Jamila Kasim. Are you now held to your word, sir?
I'm held to my word now. Listen, Jamila Kasim, ambassador at Netset Paddle Santon City and co-founder of Lux Paddle Events. Sticking with sports, let's get the latest headlines with Figile Lingwadi.
SABC News. Headlines. The African
Good afternoon again. Once again, let's start off with athletics in the Sports Hour. President of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, Chief Tonobok Okowa, is exhilarated about CAA's delegation feedback on the state of readiness inspection. The Confederation feedback on the state of readiness in the African Athletics Federation is also satisfied with the inspection they have conducted in Abeokuta, the capital of Ogun State in southwest Nigeria last week, as preparations intensify for the highly anticipated Africa Under-18, Under-20 Athletics Championship to be held on the 16th and to the 20th of July 2025.
They've been here and we've been going around for the inspection. They went around all the facilities and then all the accommodations that we are supposed to use. We discussed the logistics, transportation, and whatever, and they seem to be happy with what they have seen. So far, so good. There are no complaints yet. No doubt there are maybe little things that we need to put in place, and those things will be taken care of in no distant time. So they are very happy about what they have seen, and I'm also very happy with them.
The Senegalese administrator and the inspection team leader, General Lamine Fati, speaks about the state of athletics in Africa.
But that we can't do it alone. We have maybe to be in a sort of partnership, institutional one, with the government to see how we can bring more add value, how we can help more the athletes to perform and to come up. We keeping the hope that grassroots athletes are here, the talent are here, we have the human resources, and the goodwill is here also. Maybe the only thing is just to make an appeal for our governments to support more by the budget when they are doing arbitration, to give maybe more support and more means to our member federations.
Football news. Touch 2 down on their luck English Premier League sides. Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur will compete in the final of the Europa League tonight in Bilbao in northern Spain. Neither side is under any illusion that winning the Europa League will fix their problems, but both hope it can serve as a temporary confidence booster ahead of the redoubling of their efforts for next season. Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim was brutally honest when he said that winning the Europa League would not solve any of the club's many problems.
I think it's hard to speak about that in this moment because we need to be excited and confident. But we already know the problems. There's a lot of things that we need to change in our club, the way we do everything during the week in Carrington, the recruitment, the academy. I think we need to improve. So it's hard to point one thing, and that will not be solved by winning a cup. I think I will say it again. For me, we have bigger things to deal with to put this club back to the top.
England, Sam Cooke will make his debut in this week's test against Zimbabwe, while fellow fast bowler George Tang features for the first time in 2 years. Cooke's place in the England team at Trent Bridge on Thursday is a reward for a sustained spell as one of the country's cricket's most consistent wicket takers with Essex. 27-year-old's 227 county championship wickets are the most by any seamer over the last 5 years. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fidel Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa.
The African Perspective.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel África. Adivinha só, a Channel África quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel África está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
It is 37 minutes after 3 Central African time, and Nosipo Zuma is standing by with the latest in business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Nompumelelo. Good afternoon. In your business news this hour, South Africa's National Treasury has lowered its growth forecast from 1.9% to 1.4% this year. It attributes its downward revision to domestic economic weaknesses, including logistical constraints and high borrowing costs, further exacerbated by global headwinds due to geopolitical tensions. Making a third attempt at presenting the budget in Parliament, Finance Minister Nokotongwane says this budget aims to stimulate growth through $55.564 billion investment into infrastructure over the next 3 years.
As a result, we now estimate real GDP to grow at 1.4% in 2025. This is lower than the 1.9% we projected in March. Over the next 2 years, we project real GDP growth to rise moderately to 1.8% in 2028, 1.6% in 2026, and 1.8% in 2027. Looking further ahead, the risks to the outlook remain elevated. These include the worsening global outlook, weaker than expected growth in the fourth quarter of 2024, the persistence of logistics constraints, and higher borrowing costs.
Kotongwana says government remains committed to reducing debt servicing costs with the aim of stabilizing debt at 77% in 2026, higher than previous estimates, with debt servicing costs accounting for $1.22 of every rand collected in revenue. Debt continues to crowd out spending on critical areas including health and education. Kotongwana says debt is expected to peak this year.
In 2025-26, government debt is projected to stabilize at 77.4% of GDP. While this is 1 percentage point higher than projected in the March 12 budget, it is mainly due to lower nominal GDP. The main budget deficit decreased by 8 billion over the MTF, compared to trial estimates in March. This narrow deficit is enabled by the steady expanding primary surplus.
South Africa's Competition Commission has recommended France's Canal Plus to take over of pay TV broadcaster Multi-Choice Group. If final approval is granted, the deal would be transformative for Canal Plus as part of its expansion in Africa, particularly in English-speaking regions. Canal Plus, which spun off from parent company Vivendi in December, made a firm offer last year of 125 South African rand in cash per Multi-Choice share that it does not own, or about $1.96 billion. A Congolese former prime minister has been convicted of embezzling millions from a huge failed agriculture venture. Matata Ponyo Mapon, who served as prime minister from 2012 to 2016 under then President Joseph Kabila, was convicted on Tuesday in a case involving the embezzlement of $245 million. He was sentenced to 10 years of forced labor. In the same case, the former government of Congo Central Bank, Mutombo, was also sentenced sentenced to 5 years of forced labor, as was Christo Globola, a South African businessman. None of the three is in custody and all were tried in absentia. And finally, stocks have fallen, treasury yields rose, and the dollar came under pressure as investors sold U.S. assets over growing concerns about President Donald Trump's efforts to ram through a tax-cutting bill. Oil prices also rose more than 1% after local media reported that Israel was preparing a strike on Iranian nuclear facilities, raising supply concerns out of the key Middle East producing region and bringing geopolitical worries back into focus. Your financial indicators: one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,600 naira 79 in Botswana. In Botswana is 13 pula 39. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 49, and in Zambia it's 27 kwacha 05. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 rubles 65. Russia is 80 rubles 54. India is 85 rupees 51, China at 7 yuan 21, and in South Africa $1 is trading at 17 rand 99. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,309 and platinum at $1,046 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $66.37 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nosipho Zuma.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. If it's news and current affairs, leading opinions, and thought leaders that get your groove, this is your home, The Upside. An engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. Meets opportunity. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite a billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite a billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite a billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but
your voice matters.
Indeed, your voice matters. That one, there's Free Your Mind by Thames. Let us know what you make of this Wednesday edition of the show. Are you going to be playing a paddle? How are you winding down? How are you winding down towards the weekend?
Paddle, golf, chess.
Not real sport.
Don't say that. No,
that's what you were going to say, though. I was just taking the words out of your mouth.
You thought I was going to say
My brother,
chess,
that's what you said.
that chess is not a real sport.
Okay, tell me. What were you going to say about the 3 sport?
These are the sports that I would gladly partake in.
Okay.
Gladly.
Okay.
Right? Paddle, because it's similar to tennis. I've dabbled in tennis I've dabbled in tennis here and there. Golf, I know how to hit it, right?
Sure.
Driving, but I haven't played a full-on game. I
Okay.
haven't gone through the courses
Yeah.
and so that, And then chess. I'm not a master at it, but I love playing chess. I just love playing chess. So these are the games that I will be partaking
this year.
All
right, love it. We're starting tomorrow with paddle. And let's see how it goes. I will be giving you a full report of how the game went.
There will be videos.
Oh yes, there'll be content.
Is this really happening? Or
no, we have a paddle game tomorrow.
You've got a real
an
paddle
actual
game?
paddle
Where?
game.
How? Why?
Why?
Because we like spending time together. That's why. And Tebogo's going to try it for the first time.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
At Net Set Paddle. So yeah.
I'm so nervous. I'm not
Well,
gonna
please document it for
Absolutely.
us.
We
We'd
definitely
love to see
will.
the evidence. And I mean, I came in and you were actually talking about chess, which I
Yes.
love.
Oh, do you?
I love chess.
Okay.
Haven't
Are you a
played it.
master?
No.
No.
Far from it. Haven't played in decades, but you know, I learned chess as a child.
Okay,
so.
maybe you and Tebogo can.
It's a brilliant
have
game
a
for the
game
mind.
also. Yeah.
Strategizing. It's just
Right.
brilliant. I love it.
All the more reason why I should go back to chess.
Yes.
Exactly that.
Just refresh. Well, talk about strategy and chess games. Today's a big day. President Cyril Ramaphosa meeting with Donald Trump.
Yep.
The entire world watching that, and he's obviously going there with the whole delegation.
Yeah.
You know, including Johan Rupert, Ernie Els. And you know, that's strategy.
Yes.
That's strategy.
Absolutely.
That's strategy at play. Right there. And then, so we
Absolutely.
continue to keep a watch on that.
Right.
But this afternoon on Africa in Business, we'll be looking at the Budget 3.0 in South Africa. That's another strategy chess game. Finally, it has happened for the third time round. So we'll be speaking to Channel Africa reporter Dimakatso Leshuru, who will take us through the budget, where the cuts have been, increased expenditure in some areas, and where and how the minister has played around with the numbers this time round. So we'll be talking to Dimakatso and also hearing what people on the ground have to say and what their views are about Budget 3.0. Did it meet expectations? We'll also be looking at the markets today and looking at inflation and retail sales numbers that came out today as well. We'll take another look at the budget speech. This time we'll be joined by ABSA Investments Head of Investment Strategist Simpiwe Letlojane. So he'll give us the budget from that perspective, from the business and markets perspective. And then also Sasol hosted a Capital Markets Day, and we'll find out more about that as well. And also the Health Assembly, obviously, COVID was a huge wake-up call for the entire world. How prepared are countries to deal with pandemics of that nature? But not only when the pandemics happen, how prepared are we as far as surveillance is concerned, as far as prevention and then response to the pandemics of the world? We'll be taking a look at how Ethiopia and its Ministry of Health is preparing itself and gearing itself for this. And that's the World Health Assembly. They've signed a decision-making, they're the decision-making body of the World Health Organization. They've adopted the Global Pandemic Agreement. So we'll be looking into that today.
Oh, important conversations. So many countries were caught lacking during COVID in terms of surveillance, preparedness.
We were just not
vaccine
ready.
manufacturing capabilities.
So many.
And especially with the African continent, it just became so blatant how dependent we are on the West, and how we need to buffer up and make sure that we are able to take care of ourselves, because national interests will trump global interests any day, any time, and we saw that at play.
Yeah. All right. That is coming up on Tammy Ngubeni's Business in Africa in Business.
Tummy time.
It is tummy
Tummy
time.
And paddle time tomorrow with you.
Yeah.
I hope to see you back here in one piece tomorrow. So we shall see.
I mean, we are at that age. Well, I am. So we'll see. We'll see.
I'm not even going to go there. It's exactly 4 p.m. Central African time. Let's head over now to the news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Top stories: Asawa SA-US reveal full delegation of much anticipated meeting, and US President sets out plans for a futuristic missile system to steal the country. Good afternoon, I'm Cholani Tulongwebe. South Africa's presidency has revealed the full delegations who will meet at the White House today in support of President Cyril Ramaphosa and Donald Trump. They include Cabinet Ministers Ronald Lamola, Parks Tau, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni and John Steenhuisen. On the U.S. side, Vice President J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles will be present. The two presidents are expected to convene at the White House in Washington this afternoon. They will explore ways to strengthen relations between their countries, which have declined since Trump assumed the presidency. Sharon Bryce Pease reports the teams are fortified by a few other big names.
In support of President Ramaphosa's delegation, some big names in golf and business with close ties to the U.S. President, Ernie Els, Retief Goosen, Richemont founder and Remgro chair Johan Rupert, Vice President of Business Unity South Africa and Group CEO at Discovery Adrian Gore, and COSATU President Zinki Swalosi. Supporting President Trump's team will be the South African-born Elon Musk in his capacity as a special government employee representing the Department of Government Efficiency, and Dr. Masad Boulos, a senior advisor on Africa and the Middle East.
A Kenyan and a Ugandan activist detained in Tanzania after travelling to observe a court appearance by a jailed opposition leader remain in custody. Tanzania's Law Society had initially said the duo had been deported. Kenyan activist Boniface Mwangi and Ugandan lawyer Agatha Atuhare had gone to Dar es Salaam to attend opposition leader Tundu Lissu's first court appearance on Monday on charges of treason and publishing false information. The case has highlighted what government critics say is a growing crackdown on opponents of President Samia Suluhu Hassan. Details remain sketchy around a group of migrants deported to South Sudan by U.S. President Donald Trump's administration. A flight carrying a dozen people had landed in Juba yesterday. A United States judge has now ruled that U.S. officials must retain custody and control of migrants sent to South Sudan. This is despite a court order restricting removals to other countries. Judge Brian Murphy issued the ruling after an emergency hearing in which attorneys for migrants said the Trump administration appears to have begun deporting people from Myanmar and Vietnam to South Sudan. Channel Africa's correspondent Dugu Wilson says this is not the first time the US has made a similar move.
This is not really something that everybody expected, because this is the second time. Last month in April, a Congolese was deported to Juba, and the government said, no, US, this is not ours. They decided to return the deportees. So it created a very serious diplomatic issue, whereby at the end, the South Sudan